This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Right, all right. There she is. How you feeling, Michelle? The good thing is your pockets still have the same amount of money, unlike season ticket holders.
Well, my husband is a season ticket holder, though, so that's not exactly true, because we have a joint bank account. So that is actually not true what you just said. Yes, his ticket last year, he has a very good seat. He has one seat. His ticket last year was $3,400 for the season. His season ticket this year for 2024 for the same seat will be 7,267. So we're talking about a jump of more than double. Double would have been 6,800. It's 7,200. So it is more than double the increase for his ticket. So yes, I am personally feeling
the pain
because of my husband. Yeah.
I forgot Dave goes to all the games. And so is he going to renew?
He is. He's going to renew. I said to him, you can get a cheaper seat. I mean, they are giving you the option if you want to take a different seat that's less expensive, you have first dibs at all the other seats, if you're already a season ticket holder. But he said he's going to splurge because he really likes that seat. He likes the midfield club. He likes to eat in there and drink. And if it's raining, he goes inside the midfield club and hangs out. And he likes the seat. He's like in the 7th row in the middle there, section 101 or whatever. He's got a really good seat. He basically stands right over Tata. And, he like, then he always texts me like, hey, Tata just did this, Tata just did that. So he's actually like my little spy down there. That's our little secret.
That is awesome. That is very cool. That is very cool. Now, the one thing, I'm not surprised that the prices were jacked. I mean, you want Messi? I mean, this is how it goes.
There's a cost. This is the cost of Messi. This is the cost. You're going to pay a price to get Lionel Messi. Now, I think everyone assumed that the prices would go up. I don't know that people realized they were going to be double. The actual prices I did, in all fairness, I like to always be fair and balanced and accurate. I believe that's why I've lasted 35 years in this business. So yes, the numbers seem crazy. But when I looked and actually did the research for the NFL and the NBA, now granted, the argument there is that the NFL and the NBA are the two best leagues of their sport, whereas MLS is not the best league of its sport. So if you're buying an NBA ticket, you're seeing all the best players in professional basketball are going to be on the court, and in the NFL as well. Whereas in this, in this sport, in MLS, you're going to get Messi, who is the best. You're going to get Busquets and Alba, who are also two of the best. But all the other players in MLS and on their team are not the highest players in the soccer world. So, but just as far as pricing of NFL and NBA tickets, they are on par with the average NFL and NBA ticket. If you're going to get an NBA season ticket, the ones right up front go for $80,000. For sitting on courtside and sitting in some of those clubs and all that stuff can be very high. So, it's not out of whack as far as NFL and NBA prices, but it is double what people were paying. So in the past, for example, this year, if you sat in the north stands, right, in the end zone seats behind the goal, the average ticket per game was $28 per game, and now it's $52. So it's $52 per game now, which is it's double of 28.
By the way, I remember this. We were charging the first year of the Fusion, I believe it was like $40 to go watch Digital Taquawita. Okay. You remember the first year that you probably wrote the story that people were disgusted with the prices. Like they thought that Horowitz like outpriced everything. And then he had to repriced everything and brought it back down, I think in the second year or something like that. Do you remember that story?
I don't. I actually don't remember that story. I'll have to go back and dig it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you
Same
wrote
thing.
it. I'm sure
I'm
you
sure I
wrote it.
wrote it. I'll have
And,
to go back and find it.
and it might have been you or it might have been Rusnick. But I remember one of you writing, like, we're paying this kind of money to go see Digital Taquawita or something like that. It was like a line, and I've never forgotten it. And I remember that they had to readjust their prices too. And we're talking over 20 years ago that this is. And so you think about it, a $50 seat to see Messi is really not that expensive. It just
No,
is.
it's not. And that's
Yeah.
right. And that's their the club side of it is that you can get, there are plenty of seats at $50 per seat to see Messi, and for a season ticket. I mean, you can see him for $50 a pop. And these days, I mean, I just went to the movies with my husband. I mean, it's expensive now to go to the movies, to go anywhere, and forget about the concerts. I'm not even talking about Taylor Swift, but I'm talking about any concert that you go to now. I know because my daughter's been going to John Mayer. She's been going to Noah Khan. That's her new favorite. Those tickets are really, really expensive.
Yeah,
If you go to
I'm
the
in
US
Vegas.
Open,
I'm in
yeah,
Vegas. You see this? Can you see the hat? You see?
yeah,
You see who I'm seeing tonight? Debuting the
wait.
skier. You too. That wasn't a cheap ticket, Michelle.
No, it's not. And everything now is expensive. The US Open in tennis, or the Miami Open. If you want to go watch tennis at the Miami Open, you're gonna shell out $100 or more. I mean, it's just that's I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but sports and entertainment tickets are so expensive now, ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing that went on with Bruce Springsteen and with Taylor Swift and everybody. So yeah, I mean, he's the GOAT. He plays for this team. They were going to jack up the prices. I mean, it was just bound to happen.
Yeah, I didn't. I get it. I'm not the one paying for it, but I wasn't surprised, and I don't think it's unfair what Miami's doing. And then here's the other thing. Unfortunately for the Moss family, it's not a stadium that has 27, 30,000, 35,000 seats where maybe you can play with it a little bit more. You're kind of limited with the 19, and so you've got to maximize your revenue. And if you want them to bring Messi and Busquets and Alba and some of these young cats that they brought, the under 22 guys also cost some money too. And
Oh, yes.
you want to
Yes, they
re-sign,
do.
and if you want to re-sign Calendar to a long-term, and if you want to have a great team like what they're doing, brother, you're going to have to pay on your end too because they're paying on their end. So I don't really have a problem. Now, the question I do have to ask you is, they added some seats. Are they going to add even more?
I don't think so. I mean, I
No.
think, you mean in another corner, in the other corner?
Oh, I'm actually thinking like redesigning the corners that they have to kind of completely fill it out. And I was
Yeah,
wondering
because
if,
right now they literally took the bleachers from the F1. That's where
right,
those are from. They
right.
moved those up I-95 on some kind of truck from the F1. They moved those bleachers up there, and it doesn't fill. You're right, it does not fill the corner. It's just like one bleacher in this corner, one bleacher in the other corner, but there's a lot of empty space
If
there.
they
But
felt like it, they could now in the off season construct it and fill and close out those corners and connect them and fill and put more seats if they felt
yeah,
like it. I'm just trying to help out the Moss family there, give them some ideas. But I would imagine that you're going to try to, you're there for 2 more years, brother. If you can get the permits and if Fort Lauderdale allows and all that, add as many seats as you can wherever you can in that damn place.
yeah. No, I know that they did add on the east side, they've added like suite type seats, which they didn't have before. Before this special premium seats were only on the west side. Now on the east side, they have some premium seating down low over there as well. So that people, because they're really, again, there's not enough room. Like even people who want to shell out a lot of money to get some kind of premium field level suite type thing, there are only so many that they can do because it's a very small stadium, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, look at the celebrities. They all have to hang
Yeah.
out in the box with Moss and Beckham because they don't
Yeah.
have any space. So
Right.
you know how it is. You've been doing this forever. All these arenas and stadiums, they already have planned out sections and seats that are already that they never sell. These are special seats for,
When Zidane
celebrities.
shows up,
Yeah.
yeah.
When people like
Serena
that,
Williams shows up. Zidane
right,
shows up. Kim
right.
Kardashian shows up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now they don't have that in this stadium, unfortunately, and that's why they're all hanging out in the same boxes with Beckham and Moss, because they just don't have spare boxes to give out.
Right.
And it's just that's why I was asking if they were going to get creative this offseason and try to add more seats, because that's what I would try to be doing, because you certainly can sell the damn seats with that guy in there. All right, so let's get to the play. We really enjoyed everything that happened since he got here, but hindsight is 2020, huh? They played way too many games, and has taken a toll, not just on Messi, but on the entire team overall.
Yeah, the entire team. Tata said after the game the other day, after the US Open Cup, he said, he was asked, what did you see or whatever? And he said, what I saw was a very tired team, physically and mentally, because
Yeah.
not only they've played 16 games in 64 days, so it's every 4 days. There's been a game every 4 days. But he said it's not only that they've been playing every 4 days. All of these games, for the most part, the vast majority of those 16 games have been do or die definitive games, because they were playing first in the Leagues Cup, which was, one and done.
Elimination. Right.
So it was an elimination tournament, knockout tournament. So they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 Leagues Cup games in a row. So 7 single elimination games in a row they played. Then the game after that was the US Open Cup semifinals. So another one. So that's 8. So there were 8 single elimination, really, tough games you have to win. They won the Leagues Cup. They win the US Open semifinal cup in dramatic fashion with penalty kicks and 120 minutes, all this stuff. Then they play a few league games and then everyone's saying, well, they have to win the league games because now they're in last place. They're trying to climb up to 9th place to make the playoffs. So each game is like a do or die game. So point being, they haven't had a chance to not that you would take a game off, but they really haven't had any game where they could afford to maybe rotate more their roster, play some other players who don't play that much. They've really gone with mostly starting players for 16 games over 64 days. And then a lot of travel. And then, with Messi, I mean, he flew Miami to LA for the LA game. From LA, then he went to Argentina. From Argentina, he went to Bolivia. From Bolivia, he came back to Miami. I mean, so there's been a lot of travel involved, and he did aggravate an injury. I mean, they are finally using the word injury, lesión.
Yeah.
It was not fatigue, muscle fatigue. That's BS. No, it's not muscle fatigue. He has an injury. Jordi Alba, it was finally confirmed today by Javi Morales that he has a hamstring injury, and it's going to be a while for him. He's definitely not going to play tomorrow. It's going to be a while for him.
He's done for the year. He's done for the year. If they make the playoffs,
Probably done, unless they make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs,
maybe he's available if they make the playoffs, but he won't be playing for weeks, man. If he's got a hamstring, because you also don't want him to tear that thing up where he's the entire offseason rehabbing. That's the other
right?
thing you don't want. So that's
Yeah.
So Messi's injury, it looks like he's also kind of very questionable.
Messi. So Messi is day to day. Messi, they said, was going to train today, but he didn't come out with the team. We're allowed to watch 15 minutes in the media. He was not out during the 15-minute media portion. As soon as we were getting ready to leave, he came out. So he did come out, but we don't know what he did. Like, did he just jog around with a trainer, or did he actually participate in drills with the team? That I can't tell you, because they made us leave. As soon as Messi came onto the field, they said to the media, okay, everybody, it's time to go back to your cars. So, so I don't know exactly what he did. He was there. He was wearing, the usual training uniform like everybody else. And he was there. I saw him with my own 2 eyeballs, but I don't know how much he trained. I don't know if he's ready. They said it's going to be a day-to-day decision. It's going to be announced tomorrow whether he's going to play or not. So we don't know. John Mota is back. That is one person who is back from injury. He's going to play tomorrow.
How about Gregory? Not yet.
No.
Okay, because
no.
you could definitely use his defense. The other thing that I would ask you, this is a great learning experience for them, and because of their success with the U.S. Open Cup and with the what's it called, the one with the Mexican
Leagues
League,
Cup.
Leagues Cup,
Leagues Cup.
they've also earned the right to play in some tournaments next year too. And they're going to have to also play in the U.S. Open Cup next year, and they're going to have the MLS play. So they're going to go through a lot of the same shit that they went through this year. And how are they going to construct their roster and attack something like that to make sure they don't end up in this same position next year? Because next year you're going to be an elite team. Next year you're probably going to last a long time in most of these tournaments, and in the MLS you're going to be one of the top teams probably. So there's going to be even more pressure on you compared to what happened this year. So you got to be very careful, because this is a good learning exercise, because next year you might be taxed with the same amount of burden, including maybe another tournament on top of all of that.
Yeah, I agree. It's really too much. There's been some pushback from MLS coaches. Steve Cherundolo the other day, there's been some pushback from coaches saying that it's too much. That, adding the Leagues Cup in addition to, and these are from teams that didn't even make the finals like this team did, So these are coaches and players are starting to buzz about the idea that the scheduling needs to be different, that they can't be having week after week of Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, that they're going to need some time to recuperate. The teams that are making deep runs, the teams that didn't make any deep run in the Leagues Cup, they're done in the first 2 games or whatever, and they're out, and they got to rest the rest of the time. But the teams like this team, and that's what Tata was saying, that he has said it a few times now, that was not, they didn't really know that was going to happen. I'm not saying that they didn't hope that they were going to win all those games. They didn't know, and nor did they probably think that they were going to go on a 12-game unbeaten streak. I think they thought, oh, we're bringing this team together. We'll see how we do in this Leagues Cup thing. Let's see how that goes. And then we have the U.S. Open Cup. We're already in the semifinal of that. So that they knew, and I think they were focused on the U.S. Open Cup because they thought all they have to do is win a semi, and then they're in the final, period. But this Leagues Cup was thrown in for the first time ever. It's a brand new tournament between MLS and Liga MX in Mexico. They throw this tournament in there, and now all of a sudden, Inter Miami's playing 7 games in a row on a very tight schedule. So it needs some looking at, the scheduling in the MLS, that if they are going to have to play all these tournaments, and you haven't even mentioned the FIFA window. You have not mentioned Copa America is next summer.
That's what I mean.
In the United States.
They qualified for Copa America because of the U.S. Open Cup, correct?
No. I'm talking about the U.S. national team. I'm talking about Copa America.
You're talking about God, yes, that's right. On top of all of that, yes, and all
I'm talking about Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Colombia. They're all going to be here in the United States for Copa America. It's summer of 25.
So the national responsibilities on top of all of that. Yes, exactly. It's crazy. It's just too much. And what's going to end up happening, which happens in the U.S. Open Cup. There are clubs that, like, when they've had a lot of success in the MLS, they don't care about the U.S. Open Cup, and they rest their guys, and they call up a bunch of their minor leaguers and stuff like that, and that's what's going to end up happening to the Leagues Cup and to the U.S. Open Cup. And so, if you don't want to be the NBA regular season, okay, and you want them to take it serious, well, then you better break that thing apart a little bit more, because it's just not fair to coaches, and they're going to have to Popovich this thing. They're just going to have to.
Yeah. And I think the one that would suffer will be U.S. Open Cup, because that is the one that is not run by the league, and that's the one that's not on Apple. That's the one that's not on Apple. Apple does Leagues Cup, and everybody else does U.S. Open Cup, non-Apple product.
Very
So I guarantee you that if there's one that's going to suffer, it's going to be the U.S. Open Cup, because that's run by U.S. Soccer. That is not run by MLS. So that's where the conflict is going to be right there. Yep.
That's a fantastic point. That is absolutely fantastic. All right. What do you think about Saturday? What are we expecting?
Well, NYCFC, I was just doing some research on them. They're actually, unfortunately for the Inter Miami, they're on a pretty good run right now. They've had a really good run in the last 5 games. They've got 10 points in the last 5 games. They are sitting in the 9th place spot. The thing is, right now, Inter Miami has 5 games left. 5 games left. They are 5 points back and 5 spots back from 9th place, which is the final playoff spot. 4 of the teams they have to play are between them and the playoffs. Only one team, Cincinnati, has already clinched, and it, won't affect them. But 4 out of the 5 games, it's in their hands. 4 out of the 5 games are against teams that they are, between Inter Miami and the playoffs. So the first one is tomorrow. NYCFC is in 9th place right now with 37 points, and Miami is with 32 points. So if Miami gets 3 points, they could close the gap to 2 points, and they could move up to 11th place from 14th. They could move from 14th place to 11th and be 2 points back from the playoff line. So, they have to, I believe, based on the previous number of points that you needed to be in 9th place the last few years, we talked about 43, 44 points. They probably have to win 4 out of the 5 games, to be honest, unless a lot of other teams start losing and things happening. But for them to have a good shot at making the playoffs, they have to win 4 out of 5.
Let's see if it happens. What else are you working on in the Miami Herald so folks can check you out?
That's it. I am all Messi, all Inter Miami all the time. I do have a podcast called Inside Inter Miami. You can check it out on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple. And this week, actually, I had Alexi Lalas on, and he was my special guest this week. And he had 30 minutes of fantastic commentary about Messi, about the league in general, about all kinds of stuff. If you guys know Alexi Lalas, he doesn't hold back with his views, whether you agree with him or not.
Right.
So anyway, so that was a fun podcast. If you want to check it out, Inside Inter Miami, and just check out all my coverage of Inter Miami. I'm there every day at training. I am the go-to source. If you want someone who's there, whether Messi plays or doesn't play, whether Messi's at training or not at training, Michelle Kaufman is there for the Miami Herald and for the EJD Construction podcast, weekly podcast. Please join us every week on the EJD Construction podcast.
There you go. Thank you, Michelle. Follow her on Twitter at Cop Sports and catch her work there at the Miami Herald and the podcast too. Michelle, have a great weekend. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, you too. All right. Sounds good. Take care.
You got it. Thank you. That is the great Michelle Kaufman. And of course, when we talk about EJD Construction, we love talking about Eric and all the great people out there at EJD Construction. They know how to get it done, and they save you a lot of money. And by the way, they're fully insured, workers' comp and liability, folks. So if anybody actually gets injured on your property, they will not sue you because they're fully insured. And I'm talking about custom home construction and major home remodeling. We've had listeners remediate their house after a fire. We've had listeners add an extra room to their home, build a Airbnb on their properties. We had one listener that built a observation deck. We had 2 listeners that have built a what's it called, the stadium seating in their home for a like a home theater, with stadium seating. So cool. I don't have the kind of home that I could have a room like that, but if you do, you can call EJD Construction at 305-433-4843.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.